In the ground with my homies, trying to keep. Oh man, I've been trying to rap this
Oh,
week.
was so good,
dude.
That was so good.
See, it's happened 2 days in a row. I've tried to do a hip hop song, and I panic immediately because I'm like, you're too white. Like I see myself on camera, the lights come up, and I'm like, oh God, no,
you gotta own it, man. Have all the confidence, just roll with it, man. You got it.
I just need to do Beastie Boys. Welcome to the Daily Grind. I am your host, Luke Headmaker, and we are coming off a dub. I got my guy Rusty with me because it's Tuesday, and we hang out on Tuesday. How you doing, brother? You good?
I'm good. Like I told you, man, when we hopped in, like it's post-dub day. We got that big win last night. We handled business against a bad basketball team, something that we haven't done a lot this year. So it's worth celebrating beating a hapless Portland team, even if they were only playing with like 6 guys.
Yeah, man. And hapless is a good word for it because I don't normally feel bad for coaches, but man, they just kept showing poor Chauncey Billups over there, and he was just kind of sitting. At one point, I couldn't find him because he was so dejected on the bench. I was like, "Where is he, man?"
I know.
And it sucks because I like Chauncey a lot,
a lot.
And it looks like TJ likes him too, man. They had a long moment at the end of the game, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For those of you who did not watch the game, one, what are you doing? It was actually a good game to watch. All the boys were back. The Grizzlies won 123-98. Ja's first game back. I don't even know what to say. We got a little bit of everything from him, like everything down to the tomahawk dunk. Like and he knows what he's doing, dude. The smile he had after the game where he's like, I just had to give y'all something. It's just, it's awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing to see Ja being back to normal form. The first half, his first half was unbelievable. 20 points, 6 assists in the first half, finished with 22 and 11. You know, I said it on Twitter last night, and Drew just likes to argue with me just for the sake of argument. But like Jaren Jackson Jr. continues to be the best player on any court that he's on. But Ja Morant made a strong case in the first half, especially offensively, man. And he had some good like tap aways and stuff on defense, but just I don't know what was better. That just reach back tomahawk slam. Maggie was like, what was going on with his arm? And like, nah, it's just a reach back.
That's what he does.
And then between that and then that just behind the back no look dish to BC, like we had vintage Ja last night. And like I said last night, when Ja's having fun, dunking like that, posing at halftime when he hit that 3/4 court shot, even though it didn't count, like that's dangerous for the rest of the league.
Yeah, and getting everyone else involved too. They kept like he was feeding Jaren the entire second half. Like just it was just beautiful to see. And then he was be like, no, big fella, it's your turn. Like, and I think it was BK that even said it on the broadcast. He was like, that's a level that his game has jumped up that I think goes unnoticed. Is just because we haven't seen them play together.
And that's where
roll over everybody.
Absolutely. And that's where Ja this year has been different than Ja in year past. Like that was his first posterizing, oh my God, dunk of the year, right? Like he had a couple 360 layups. Like he's been facilitating a lot more. And last night, like you said, in the second half, like him feeding Jaren is going to feed families this year. Like if Jaren, and we didn't need him to play last night. Jaren played 28 minutes, the most on the team, which is right on par with his average. But if Jaren was playing, and I talked about this yesterday on Twitter, like if Jaren was playing 33, 34, 35 minutes, he would be in an MVP type conversation right now. But he's not. He's getting the minutes that he's getting, which is fine. Ja coming back is only going to make that better. I don't know if you saw Keith Parrish, Fast Break Breakfast on Twitter, said that Ja and Jaren are a net plus 28.1 on the season when they're on the court together. Now, they've only been on the court together for a very small sample size, but that has been lethal when that has happened.
Those are stupid Jokic numbers, like Jokic stupid level numbers like that. That's awesome. Man, God, I didn't know that. That's gives me such hope for now I have hope for the rest of the season anyway, but those are elite numbers right there.
Yeah. And everybody can take a deep breath. I know we all saw Ja kind of limping around last night. He checked himself out of the game. He came back in and he didn't push the issue a whole lot, but it looked more like he just kind of banged knees with people. It didn't look like with the post player from Portland. It didn't look like he re-aggravated the hip, anything like that. It was just like a quick knee bang and then he was fine. So take a deep breath. I think Ja's going to be okay. And he just makes everybody around him better, including one. Wayno, thanks for being in the comments, man. I'm going to mention your boy, Summer Santi Aldama almost tied the Grizzly record with rebounds off the bench. Zebo holds the record with 18. Santi got 17 in jumps last night, man. Santi was snatching everything coming off the rim. It was amazing watching him play.
Man, Santi and Brandon Clark both, I think, are the two biggest examples of guys that just play so much better with Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Like Brandon Clark just looks. He almost he was sniffing a double too. Like no more, also no threes.
I was about to say that's the best stat of the entire night. Brandon Clark, 3-point attempts, 0 of 0. Let's go.
Love it, man. And those guys those two dudes just fit so, they are able to slide so optimally in what they do the best when Ja is on the court. And someone else who I thought kind of had a bit more of an optimal role last night was Marcus Smart coming off the bench, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and his quote, I guess it was right before the game, or it was making the rounds all day yesterday, where he was just like, I've been around the league a long time. I'm just trying to win, basically. And him coming off the bench was really nice. Like,
that was like his role, man. Like, yeah, absolutely. And he gave Jalen Wells his hype, right? He said, the rookie's been playing really well, so we're going to roll with him to see what we've got. Like, just that veteran personality and that presence, and that's something that we need, right? Like, we've got leaders on this team. It's time, pardon the expression, it's nut cutting time for Ja, Jaren, and Dez. Like, it's time to step up and be leaders, right?
Yes.
And Marcus is setting an example of that with that statement yesterday and how he played last night. He looked a bit like Marcus of old on the defensive end. Like, he was pesky. He was in passing lanes. I don't know if it was just taking the pressure off. And, like, again, he's coming back from a week-long battle of food poisoning is what the report was. I don't know, man. But, like, one of the funniest things I have ever seen on Twitter was the tweet, and I think it was, like, Big Memphis or one of those accounts that was like, what is this dude doing with a tray full of cookies? I thought he was sick, right, when he was delivering them to the staff. So makes sense now that he's got food poisoning, but it was good to see Marcus back out there hooping and being pesky. He was finished the night plus 11. He had 6 points last night, 2 steals, and 4 assists. And that's where he can really step into a role as being that second point guard, or third point guard option and facilitate for us.
Man, and just having, it's amazing at just like having options, because having Luke Kennard healthy also is just like someone else that can handle the ball is just like, and set other guys up.
Mm-hmm.
It makes for like a really good recipe for success. And if Marcus is going to stay off the bench, we're going to kind of transition into our next topic. Like, the bench is going to just get better, and they are already so good. I was looking for something to talk about other than the win, and you were like, why don't we just talk about how good the role players and the depth actually has been? And I was like, boom, that's perfect, because they're the second best scoring bench in the league right now. And that's with, how many guys we played? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys on our bench unit yesterday. And I don't know who I would not play. Like, they all were great. Like, it was a really, 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 Shelby agrees, it was a really cohesive, smart unit.
It was. And shout out Taylor Jenkins. Y'all were talking about this yesterday. He only played 8 guys 20 minutes or more. Now, yesterday was a blowout, so it's, there was some garbage time and some guys got more run towards the end than they probably would have normally, but you had 8 guys with 20-plus minutes. That feels like a shorter rotation, right? Like, you got guys, consistent guys running in and out. Yes, he ended up playing 11 guys yesterday, 12 guys yesterday, but, again, it was a blowout win. When it was crunch time, he shortened the rotation, but we continue to get bench production. I don't know if you heard last night, but Pete said that I think it was when Santi hit double figures. Santi was the 41st player for the Memphis Grizzlies to have double-figure points off the bench, like double-digit points off the bench this season. 41 times that's happened. Like, that's super impressive from a bench unit that has historically not been super deep. But now we've got guys like Jay Huff going on heaters. Jake LaRavia has been playing out like well above his head.
The microwave. Sorry, I got to give.
Absolutely. What a great
called in the microwave.
Yes, because he can come in and go on a heater like no other. And then you got Luke coming off the bench, adding some 11 points last night. This bench is something not only offensively, but defensively putting the clamps on your favorite teams.
Yep. And that's with Gigi Jackson's coming back sooner rather than later. And it's The best part about this bench unit, I would say, as opposed to units in the past that we like bench mobs we've rolled out in the past, this reminds me of that Tyus Jones, Brandon Clark, D-Melt bench where the role players know their role. You know, like a bench is supposed to be full of guys that know the role they are supposed to play to help a team win. And that's one reason why it's not just that the Grizzlies have a deep bench. It's one reason why we've been able to stay afloat through these early season injuries, but the bench knows what they're here for. You know, no one's taking unnecessary shots. No one's doing something out of their comfort zone. They're just doing the right thing.
Yep. And we're playing and that kind of ties in. We're playing very unselfish basketball. Last night on 43 made shots, we had 35 assists. Like we're moving the ball. We're assisting. We're playing really well. Jake LaRavia leads the NBA in highest assist percentage on drives so far this season. 18.6% of his drives are from an assist. And that's huge, man. That's like he's above like Darius Garland, Fred VanVleet, Trae Young, Ja Morant, LeBron James. He's ahead of all of those. He's number one. Number four, Scottie Pippen Jr. at 16.1. Ja Morant is 11 at 14.2. So we're moving the basketball effectively. We're making the right pass. And a lot of this credit goes to Tumas and Taylor Jenkins for putting in this new motion offense where everybody eats except Brandon Clark shooting threes. And it shows. We're assisting the ball at a high rate. We're scoring like Luke. I'm trying to remember a season where we were consistently scoring 115, 120, 140. Like we're absolutely lighting it up.
Dude, I got to watch. When did we play? Saturday. We went to the Bulls game. One of my oldest friends. He's about to have a baby. I don't get to see him that often anymore. He came over. We watched the game, and this is somebody that I used to watch. We used to get sad with in the Ivan Rabb days. You know, like he's been a fan for a long time.
Shout out Ivan Rabb.
Yeah, dude. He's not seen a lot of games this season. He was like, when did we start consistently putting up 120? And I was like, bro, it's this season, this new offense. It's really nice. When it's clicking, dude.
Yeah, like yesterday you had folks in the comments talking about going back to the Dylan Brooks days. Like that'd be like going back to the core four. Like I remember when we were scoring 88, 89, 87, and we were winning basketball games because we were in the mud. And like they set the stage for where we are now. It's a different NBA, but like this is a far cry from those offenses that were good with Mike and Mark and Zebo. This team will run you out of the gym. The other team was going to beat you up for 4 quarters. Essentially, they were going to put you in a phone booth, lock the door, and pick a fight.
Yep.
This team is just going to run you out of the gym.
Yep. And it's exhilarating to watch as a Grizzlies fan because it's just something that we're absolutely not used to in the slightest. And I wasn't able to. The comments were shout out anybody in the comments, man. It was going so. They were awesome yesterday. I didn't get to look at them as they were going, but the Dylan Brooks stuff, like y'all wait, Houston is going to be a 2 or 3 seed and they're going to get knocked out in the first round when Dylan Brooks shoots them out of the playoff series. It's what it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
He's having a little mini resurgence. So it's got people talking crazy and Twitter and YouTube. These comments are free. You don't have to pay to put anything in here. So you can say whatever you want. And it's wild, but we've come a long way from that. Like this team is like, you never want to go back. You don't want to go back to the old ex-girlfriend, right? Like she's crazy, but she's comfortable, right? That's kind of how Dylan Brooks is. She's that crazy ex that you think about. That's like, you know, that wasn't that bad. Yes, it was. Stay away. Dylan Brooks, stay in Houston.
I mean, Dylan Brooks is in direct contrast to what we're literally talking 100%. About. Like a role player who doesn't know the role that he's supposed to play. Like not only did Alan
shout out
Alan, get it up there. Last time Alan, I'm Marcus Smart. Not only genuinely seemed okay going to the bench, but he also didn't take 13 shots. He took 6 shots and he made half of them. Like, you know, like I'm good with that. That's what we need. I don't think Dylan Brooks would have ever done that.
No, Dylan would have had 13 shots last night and made 3 of them. That's exactly what that would have been.
And made a fuss about going to the bench. That's like talking about people that know their role. Someone who seems to have gotten a little bit out of their role. And I don't know if they're out of their role. I was seen on the Grizz 901 postgame show. They talked about this last night. We got to talk a little bit about Desmond Bane because he's someone who we're talking about role players. He's not a role player. He's just one of our big 3, but he appears to be in a little bit of a funk right now. And it's I'm not worried. They were talking about him maybe having a back issue. I think I saw someone comment on that in the postgame show last night. You were the one talking about obliques and how awful they are to come back from. Do you think he's still just dealing with coming back from an oblique injury?
I do. I really do.
Yeah.
And he's just had a lot of inconsistencies this year. We all know Dylan is got me talking about Dylan. Desmond is a rhythm shooter. He gets on a roll. Like, he needs to be kind of like the game needs to be flowing for him. And he's had a hard time getting that. These obliques can linger, man. Like, he can have some soreness. He does have history of back spasms and back issues. And so your oblique muscles kind of on the side, it helps a lot with rotation. That's why you see it more with like golfers or baseball players, tennis players. But it also works in tandem with your low back muscles to stabilize your spine for dynamic movement. And if one's out, the other one likely is going to have some issues. So I would not be surprised at all if he's having a little bit of a flare up of some of that back pain that he's had previously. But in that thread that I sent you last night from Stat Defender at Stat Defender on Twitter, he posted this a couple of days ago. So these stats are probably a little bit older. It's been about 4 or 5 days ago he posted this. But the best defensive field goal percentage on shots in the paint, less than 10 feet from the goal, among guards so far in the 24-25 season. Number 1, Desmond Bane. He's allowing 32% on 2-point shots in the paint. But wait, there's more. Best defended 2-point percentage, any 2-point field goal so far this season, minimum of 50 plays played. Number 1, Desmond Bane, 32%. So Desmond has been struggling offensively, but all this to say that he is doing much better because we've never known Des to be a great defender, right? He's got those little short arms. He can't really reach all that far. Little T-Rex arms. Yeah. He's built like a running back, not a shooting guard.
Yeah.
But he's been a much better defender this year than years past. So, yes, I think the oblique and low back are kind of leading to some of his offensive woes. But he's contributing in other ways, a la Marcus Smart, who made a transition to the bench. And I know casuals may not be ready for this conversation yet. But what if, and this is not trying to say anything about the way he's been playing or anything like that. This is not a hey, a demotion. You're still going to get 25, 30 minutes a night. But what if, when you're fully healthy, we had a starting lineup of Ja, Jalen, Vince, Tripp, and Edie. And then your second lineup, let's say no trades have been made, are Pip, Desmond, Marcus, BC, J Huff, or Santi, BC. That's 10 players that, like, could you imagine, like, when in the first quarter, when you sub out, when the other team subs out their starters, and then we sub in Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, and Brandon Clark, like, I mean, that is an awful, awful matchup. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would put the second unit that you mentioned along with the guys, with the Santis and the Jakes and the people that you didn't mention. I would still put that 8 dudes against the Portland team last night.
Yeah.
I think he might just be making too much money to be. That's the only issue, because I think that I started feeling things. My cat started feeling things over here. Like, everybody in this room, the vibes went like, whoa, when you mentioned him coming off the bench, because they get you your scorer off the bench. They get you someone that can facilitate. Like, that's really, really, and it solves a lot of the logjam that we've talked about with Jalen and Vince. You can just start them.
Again, he does make $200 million. Like, it's going to be hard to get him coming off the bench. Like, don't get me wrong. But we're not saying he's going to play less minutes. Like, you can pay a guy $200 million to sit for the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game and then come in and play 30 minutes across the last bit of the game. Nobody's taking away minutes. I'm not trying to take away shots or minutes from Desmond. I still want him to get his minutes. And it's not how you start the game. It's how you finish. But if we can start with a lineup like that with Ja, Vince, Jalen, Tripp, and Edie, and we go on like a 19-4 run, or we get out on like a comfortable 8 or 10 point lead, and then you put in Desmond Bane and J Huff or Luke Kennard or whoever, GG coming off the bench that goes on an absolute heater, and suddenly that 8 or 10 point lead is now 18 or 20 when your starters come back in. Again, I'm not trying to take minutes away from him, not trying to take shots away from him. It's just a thought exercise that what if Desmond Bane being the 6th man of the year? Because you think about all those Spurs teams, right? Who was their 6th man every time? It was Manu, man. And they paid Manu well.
It's true.
And Manu would come in with those bench units and cook other teams' bench units because he was an NBA starter. I mean, players do that. Like, I get it. this is probably accurate. Bane may have to instigate it because you don't want to be like telling your superstar, one of your superstars, hey, you're coming off the bench, like you're relegated to the bench, because it sounds bad, right? Like you want to start.
Yeah.
But if it makes the team better, I feel like Desmond Bane might kind of want to maybe do that to make the team better. I don't know. Again, just a thought exercise, and we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for this phenomenal point by Wayno. The fact that we found another all-time shooter from Washington State. I'm not going to compare yet because it's still we're 18, 19 games into a season. But, I mean, like, Klay Thompson played at Wazoo. He came out was a great shooter. Jalen Wells has come out and a great shooter. And he is also the best defensive field goal percentage among rookies so far this year, only giving up 38% from the field as a defender.
Man,
this is Jalen's fault.
It is Jalen's fault, man. And you know what? Like, my favorite thing about him is his expressionless, like the dude, no matter what he's doing, that dude is out there. He could be getting he could be deflecting the ball. He could be, like literally doing anything. And it's just like
deadpan.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel a way about people that wear the number 0. It's a weird personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to, he's changing the way I feel about the number 0. And I really appreciate it.
I told Maggie last night I want a Jalen Wells jersey.
Yeah,
I want a 0. I'm going to wear it on the show. Like, I want a Jalen Wells jersey because, like, you're right. Like, we've got Vince that smiles while pestering and shutting down your favorite player. Then you got Jalen, who's just very deadpan, just like his dad, who's on the Anthony Sane show. If you hadn't watched that interview, go back and watch it. It was incredible, dude. I was hyped watching it.
Yeah.
But just the way he just goes about his business, he handles his business as a rookie. Doesn't get too far up, too far down. Very much a Kawhi, just like robotic look and getting better every single night. I mean, the game against LeBron is what it is. He's playing an all-time great. He looked like a rookie that night, sure. But I bet when the next time we play the Lakers, it'll be a different story.
No doubt, man. And you're right. He is a reason. He's caused a lot of quote unquote problems with this team because he's so good at multiple roles. Once again, this team is deep. This team, we haven't even talked about how there's 1, 2, 3. They got 4 guys averaging at least 3 threes a game and making 39 and a half of them. And all of that's Scottie Pippen Jr., Luke Kennard, Jay Huff, and Jalen Wells. Those dudes, it's one starter out of them, and that's Jay. Like, if last night is any indicator of what to expect with this team, at least in the immediate future while Vince and Gigi are still gone, I'm here for it because last night was a delight. And I know it was the Trailblazers, but
it's still, we handled our business against a bad basketball team, and that's what great teams do. Great teams beat the teams they're supposed to, right? And another thing you like to see are like our leaders in statistical categories is widespread, right? Like our best player, Jaren Jackson Jr. so far this year is leading the team in points average 22.8. Santi, 7.8 rebounds per game. Assists, Scottie Pippen Jr., 5.8. So it's like spreading around. Like Ja and Jaren aren't having to do all the heavy lifting. You're getting contribution from role players. And it just continues to show how deep we truly are and how good our bench is and will be when fully healthy, man. Because, like, yes, there's going to be a time in February, March when our injury report is very small or blank for the first time in 3 seasons. And you're not going to be getting 25, 30 minutes from Jake, from Santi, from probably not Scottie Pippen Jr. But what you're going to see is that when we do plug those guys in, like, they've got experience and the moxie to come in and contribute at a high level to support us when we need them on a back-to-back or, Ja's out for thigh soreness or whatever the case may be.
Yep. Yeah. I don't believe I can say it better than that. Well, very well said. And you used the word moxie. So 2 thumbs up. We're going to take a quick break, y'all. When we come back, we're going to tube because it's Tuesday. And I actually watched something other than planes, trains, and automobiles, but I did watch that. But when we get back, we'll talk about what we're tubing right now, right after this break.
I think Zach Edey played well. He got his fouls in. He got them in for sure. But we saw some flashes of really what he can do, whether that's setting screens or just blocking shots or just making guys change their mind about shots or just affecting the quality of shots that guys were getting in the game. We saw that a lot. They gotta use him though, man. They gotta be able to find him. better.
I was about to say they especially the whole first quarter. It was like because I think that lob that y'all had him, that was his first points of the game. So it was like the whole first quarter. I did peep that. It was like I see everybody else attempting 5+ shots.
Right.
Y'all got to find a way to give Zach Edey something like at some point. Everything was running well last night, right? The offense was flowing well. It's gonna come a stretch of time where they're gonna be stagnant, and at that time, that's when I expect them. Okay, hey, let's run a post play to Zach Edey.
Tune in to the Anthony Sain Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
This is a question I don't know if you've ever been asked. Was there anyone you ever wanted to dunk on? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you getting a big kick out of that one. I'm glad you've been waiting all day for that. Waiting all day to get that little jokey joke in. Oh, you got a joke. But I always wanted to dunk in the game. That's what I wanted to do. And it didn't have to be on anybody. I wanted it to be off of a missed shot, like on an offensive rebound, so that everyone's around or in the vicinity when it happened.
Did you ever dunk in practice and get overly excited?
Yes. and everybody be like, well, are you going to do it in a game? And I'm like, no.
Tune in to the Night Court Podcast with your hosts, Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Ba-na-na. Welcome back, baby man, back, stuck in my head, back. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. You can catch that show. You got the Night Court Podcast. That is every Wednesday. We've got No Bluffing. That's Mondays. Those guys are great. We've got Anthony Sain Show. That is Wednesdays and Fridays. We've got the Grizz 901 live postgame show. That's live after every weekday postgame. We've got the $2 Sports Show. That's every Friday at 3. And we've got the Daily Grind, which is Monday through Friday, 7:30. I think I got them all.
Attaboy. Let's go.
Man, I was embarrassed. Yesterday, I got through all of them. It was really eloquent. And I was like, I forgot one. And it was the $2.
I know. I was at the gym. I was in the middle of I was doing squats at the gym, and I was like, the $2 Sports Show, man, come on.
I looked at Drew, and Drew just kind of twitched. I was like, sorry. But you catch all that. BluffCityMedia.co. Stuff for everybody. Back to our show, though. On Tuesdays, we talk about what we watch on TV. We were tubing because everybody's got a TV, and we watch it all the time. Whether you're watching basketball, whether you're watching movies, whether you're watching television, there's just stuff on, I'm happy to go first. So I watched a lot of Grizzlies basketball this weekend. Watched a lot of just Memphis basketball. Shout out Tigers, man, beating UConn last night.
What a win!
Like,
man.
whoa!
I caught that game just before halftime. I was watching it on my phone while I was doing some work at a clinic. So I'm like working on it, and then I have my headphones in, listening to it. Huge win. That was a grown man win for Penny and the Tigers, man.
Yeah, man.
They took UConn's best shot. They gave up a 12-point lead. UConn tied it up to go to overtime. And you feel like, all right, this is it. Like, UConn's got this. And Penny says, no, says I.
No.
PJ Carter scored 11 points in overtime to lead it. The Tigers still win. What a game.
What a game, dude. It's like they played like I felt after watching. I watched Gladiator 2 this weekend. And Gladiator 1. I just, in preparation for Gladiator 2, I love Gladiator 1. The second one, man, awesome. Like, I talked briefly about it yesterday. Denzel Washington, I think, is one of the greatest living actors. Like, the dude, the man can do, like, his Shakespeare is some of my favorite. He can do just August Wilson, the way he does that is great. You can go farther back. Like, remember the Titans. You can go with Man on Fire. Like, I just love that dude. And he is doing something I've never seen him do ever in a performance. He's also having a blast. It looks like he's chewing the scenery like it's a big old piece of ham. He's just awesome. I hope he gets nominated for an Oscar. He was really good. I also loved the Pedro Pascal. The Red Viper. Yeah. Like, he's my guy. And I just really liked it. Highly recommend. 2 thumbs up. And I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles last night after the game because Thanksgiving's this week. You know, he's got to get home for Thanksgiving, man. I got to get home to Thanksgiving tomorrow. What if I end up in Wichita with some guy and his pregnant wife who's like, she's skinny, but she's strong? I don't want that to happen, man.
No, we can't have that. So I'm trying to talk. I think we're going to watch. I'm talking to Maggie. I'm going to try and get her to watch that movie this week. We're trying to watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We're doing our Thanksgiving tomorrow night, so maybe we'll watch it then.
Yeah.
For me, so I've been watching obviously Grizzlies basketball. College basketball was, we talked about the Memphis game. What a great win for the Tigers yesterday. Your Mississippi State Bulldogs are 5-0 with a big win over Utah and SMU, playing good basketball. So talk about that because our football team's trash. But we just finished Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. So the 7th movie. So we just finished that. They got Dobby, man. They got my boy Dobby. Like, what an awful scene. And I like when Bellatrix throws that knife, it's like, who'd she get? And I'm like going through my head, and like Dobby never came up until he said something. And I was like, no.
Man, I'm getting upset thinking about it. I challenge anyone with a heart to go watch the end. You don't even have to watch.
Oh,
because guess what? Dobby doesn't show up in the movies after 2. You can literally just watch the second movie in 7 Part 1 and you will be weeping because
because just in his dialogue, he's like, Dobby is glad to be surrounded by friends and Harry Potter. And I'm like, no. Oh, it got me in my feels. But that was a great movie, man. Like searching for the knife, Ron doing like his just being an idiot because of the Horcrux, and they found the Horcrux, and like 1-1. Hermione and Harry Potter's friendship gets deeper. Like it's really good, but it ends very poorly for the gang because obviously Dobby passing away, but then Voldemort now has the Elder Wand, the strongest wand in the universe, Dumbledore's, and nothing good's going to come out of that. Man, we finally learn what the Deathly Hallows are, and like I finally understand what the symbol is, like because we saw it all over Universal, and Maggie's like, "You don't know what this is," and I'm like, "No, sure don't."
No,
I get it now.
I'm glad. I was about to say, I'm glad you went to Universal first because the Green Gots roller coaster is so cool, and I'm glad you got to experience the roller coaster before you got to see the movie because I just want to show people that ride is like everybody do this if you're making a theme park because the line's good, the ride's good, everything about it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you guys going to finish Harry Potter this weekend? Maybe
this weekend. Okay. Now we'll finish it this weekend before Tuesday, next Tuesday's episode. So I'll have the entirety of the Harry Potter. I'll walk y'all through Game of Thrones, walk you through Harry Potter. We've got we kind of pause watching The Penguin because of all the Halloween movies and then Harry Potter and everything for the trip. So we're going to pick that up. We got some other things we're going to watch, but yeah, so I'll have a full summary for y'all next Tuesday's edition of the Daily Grind.
Heck yeah. Love to hear it, y'all. That's going to do it for our show today. Thanks everybody we say this every day. Appreciate y'all jumping in the comments saying, who am I missing? Alan, Wayno, King Meeks, everybody. Just thank y'all. Thank y'all for hopping in. It makes our day to do the show with y'all. We're going to be back tomorrow. We will not be here on Thanksgiving, but we are going to be back tomorrow. Have good days today. If you're traveling, be safe. I know it's about traveling time. If we can leave you with anything today, remember these 2 things. Remember to be a little weird, just a little bit, and remember to smile. Bye, guys. See you tomorrow. Have a good day.